Hey guys, Walls here with a discussion of Romeo and Juliet Act 1. This is review for the final test we'll have to take next week. Let's get started. What I'm going to do here is go through all of the questions that are on the comprehension check worksheets that are online and that I pass out in class. Let's start with the play. We're going to kind of breeze through some of the big things in the play that aren't necessarily like on the handouts, and then we'll go from there. All right, so at the beginning of the play, you've got Capulets and Montagues like out and about. Oh, well, let's back up. So at the very, very beginning of the play, you've got the chorus. The thing of these is like the narrators basically saying like, this is a story about two star-crossed lovers who die. Like we're told right off the bat that this is about conflict and strife and death-marked love. So there's no mystery here. Like right off the bat, the story is going to be bad. So the rest of the play, we're left wondering, like, well, how does it happen? I kind of like this storytelling technique where right off the bat we know what's going to happen, but then the fun part of it is kind of working through it and seeing like, oh man, maybe something's going to be different, or how does it actually work out that way? Okay, so Capulets Montagues fight, and this is where we're introduced to like some of the lower rung people in the families, and you have this like weird like thing here. Like think of this as like flipping someone the bird. Do you bite your thumb at us, sir? I do bite my thumb, sir. Do you bite at us, sir? Is the law on our side if I say I? No, no, sir. I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir. Basically saying like, did you just flip me off? And the guy's like, yeah, I showed you my middle finger, but I didn't flip you off. And he asks his buddy, like, okay, like, if I did insult this guy and we fight, is the law on our side? And when the guy says no, he's like, no, 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 no. Like, I didn't mean you any offense. So it's this kind of, I don't know, it's silly. Like, who are these people? Anyways, the serious people come in. So Benvolio comes up. He's like, part fools, put up your swords. You know not what you do. He's like, listen, you morons. Like, this is not the time or place for this. Like, why are we doing this? Now Tybalt comes out, and he says to Benvolio, what art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio, look upon thy death. So Tybalt sees what Benvolio is doing, and I guess kind of, Tybalt likes to fight. Tybalt is a fighter, and so he might have misinterpreted this, or he might be using this as an excuse. But basically, he sees Benvolio, who is kind of a higher ranking, he's a true family member, entering into a fight with the servants, with the people who aren't as important. And Tybalt is basically saying like, no, 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 no. If you're going to fight someone, you're going to fight me. So Benvolio says, I do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword. And then Tybalt here says, what drawn and talk of peace? Like you're holding your weapon in your hand and you want to talk of peace? And he says, I hate the word as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee have at thee, coward. And they fight. So, just a whole bunch of fighting happens here. And then the prince shows up. And this is our first question here. The setting of the play is Verona. And in scene 1, a street brawl between the Capulets and Montagues ends when the prince appears. What does the prince say will be the punishment for the next person who begins the fight with two families? And he says, death. And here's the line. If you ever disturb our streets again, you shall pay the forfeit. Your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. So he's kind of putting it all right here on the line, saying, listen, we've had enough. So the Capulet and Montague conflict isn't necessarily just a family ordeal. Like their fighting is a major source of strife and destruction in the city, in the community. So it's a big deal. Okay, all right. Now, question number 3. When Romeo first appears on stage, he is depressed. What is the source of his sadness? All right, let's scroll through this stuff and find Romeo. There's Romeo. Good morrow, cousin. Romeo says, is the day so young? But news struck 9. Me, sad hours seem long. So basically saying, like, man, I'm bummed out. And, when you're sad, the day just seems to go on forever and ever and ever. And here he says, I'm in love, but I'm out of her favor where I'm in love. So he says he's in love with someone, but that person doesn't love him back. We later learn that is Rosaline. Now, this passage is key. Let's look at this thing right here. So Romeo says, alas, that love whose view is muffled still should without eyes see pathways to his will. he's saying basically like love is blind and yet somehow seems to be able to make us do what love wants us to do. Like when we're in love, we aren't necessarily in control of our own actions. Where else shall we dine? Like, where are we going to go eat? And he says, oh, me, what Frey was here. So let's go back. He basically sees that something's gone down. He sees signs of the fight. Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. Here's much to do with hate, but more with love. Why then, O brawling love, O loving hate, O anything of nothing first create, O heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep. That is not what it is. This love I feel, I that feel no love in this. So all this is basically saying Romeo is contemplating the dual nature of everything. And you've got this line right here, oh, anything of nothing first create. There's a philosophical idea that from nothing, nothing comes. Like you can't create anything from nothing. So he's basically saying here, like he is equating love's power to that of something that can create out of nothing. So, Romeo is a romantic. He thinks love is very important. Now, he does point out here that love can be the cause of hate and violence. There's this idea that everything contains its opposite. So, love here can be the source of hate, and hate can be the source of love. And generally speaking, things are not always as they appear to be. Heavy stuff. Shakespeare had a lot of philosophical ideas in his plays. All right, in scenes 2 and 3, there's much talk about a possible marriage for Juliet. Basically, like the parents, like they want her to marry this guy, but Capulet, the dad, does say he will allow her to marry anyone he approves of, which is key because he does not approve of Montagues. All right, moving on. Number 5, how does Juliet react to her mother's advice? She says she'll look him over, but she's not committed. She's not going to commit herself to anything just yet, but she says she'll give him a fair shake. Explain why each of the following characters are attending the Capulet's ball. Romeo is going to go see Rosaline. He's still hopelessly in love with her. Benvolio is going to help Romeo meet someone else. Benvolio is looking out for Romeo because he knows Romeo is a lovesick fool sometimes. Paris is going to meet Juliet, and Juliet is going because she told her parents that she would, because the parents are trying to set her up and get her married. All right, now, in scene 4, what premonition does Romeo have in a dream before he attends the party? Let's start with this guy right here. All right. So this is earlier in the scene. So Romeo says, and we mean well in going to this mask, but 'tis no wit to go. So he's saying, like, we have good reasons to go to this party, but it's not wise to go. Mercutio says, why may one ask? Romeo says, I dreamt a dream tonight. And Mercutio says, and so did I. Royal, what was yours? That dreamers often lie. So Mercutio, he goes on this like big thing about Queen Mab, and the whole point is that Mercutio thinks that dreams are just dreams. That anyone who reads, life-changing, life-altering importance into their dreams is just being silly. Now, Romeo, this is his premonition. I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequence, yet hanging in the stars shall bitterly begin his fearful date with this night's revels and expire the term of a despised life closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death. What he's basically saying there is that fate is telling him that going to this party is going to set into motion a series of events that ends with Romeo's death. So I'm thinking, if I get these premonitions and I have these ideas that, like, man, if I go to this party, it's not going to end well. I'm not going to go to the party, right? But here at the very end of this little line, he says, but he that hath the steerage of my course direct my sail. Basically, he's saying, I am not in control of my own life, and I am just going to, if I'm meant to go to this party, I'm meant to go to this party, and I'm going to go. All right. Paraphrase lines 50 through 51. How Romeo reacts. He claims that, this should say he. Sorry. He claims that he's never known beauty or love until he saw Juliet. In scene 5, Romeo and Juliet fall in love without knowing each other's identities. The nurse is who tells Romeo that Juliet is a Capulet. All right, can love come from hate? Here's the big question. So paraphrase 136 through 139 on page 653. So here's what she says when she learns that Romeo is a Capulet, excuse me, a Montague. Juliet says, "My only love sprung from my only hate, too early seen unknown and known too late. Prodigious birth of love it is to me that I must love a loathed enemy." And so basically, she's saying like, man, it's pretty unfortunate that the only thing I've ever loved is something that I've been taught to hate, or the only thing that I've ever been taught to hate. And this goes back to the monologue at the beginning of the act, where Romeo is talking about the dual nature of things. This idea that from love comes hate, and in this case, from hate comes love. All right, party people, that's Act 1. I'll be back with Act 2 later. Have a good one.